Yep. As well, guys, remember as well, if you're watching on YouTube, drop a like on the stream. It's appreciated. Check out the new videos, all that good stuff. Let's get into it. Let's check out this video from Saint Tontas. I think I'm pronouncing it right. Apologies if I'm butchering your name, dude. The worst mobs in Wuthering Waves. Let's see what the worst mobs are then.
All overworld mobs weren't made equal.
This is true. This is very true.
Some drop incredible endgame equipment. Some increase your union level and provide
Some have incredibly annoying mechanics.
incredible astrite rewards. Others, well, others do none of these, while still being entirely necessary to farm. The fact of the matter when it comes to grinding overworld mobs in Wuthering Waves is that some enemies feel absolutely awful to farm, especially in relation to others. With the recent release of Chang Li, most players are
Mama.
likely finding that their
Dude, I really enjoy playing as Chang Li though. I do. I keep saying this. I know she's just another DPS really among an absolute multitude, a plethora of DPS characters at the moment. But she's just look at her. And her companion quest as well was fun. I really enjoyed it.
account severely lacks these resource materials, specifically farmed from exile enemies.
Okay.
These enemies, along with those from Fraxidus, are some of the most painful to farm in the game, and to fully upgrade a character that uses these materials, it can take quite a while to accumulate.
I think maybe just because I have been fighting a lot throughout, like I haven't found them that bad myself so far, but let's continue.
Accumulate the resources necessary. It's not like these enemies are harder to clear or drop less resources. The main problem is that you get far less return on your time
That's true. That's true.
invested compared to many other mobs. Today we'll be discussing why this is the case, breaking down how the game's systems promote farming specific mobs compared to others, and how this design has led to some frustrating gameplay loops for many players as they progress through their account. And
For me, these are a lot of little issues. There are quality of life things I do hope get fixed. We were talking about weapon issues in the last video, talking about obviously mobs now, echo mats, where we all thought it'd be tuners, but it's the mats now that are a bit of an issue. So I do think these are things that are going to be hopefully balanced over the next few upcoming updates to the game, because there definitely are little frustrations that over time will make the game a chore to play in some regards.
and characters. One of the biggest appeals for Wuthering Waves and its overworld is the ability to farm echoes, or equipment for characters. With this equipment dramatically boosting the combat effectiveness of characters, and the previous implementations of equipment locked behind a time-gated resource in many gacha games, this creates a huge draw towards farming these specific mobs or tacit discords. The realization that
It's a real positive part of the game, actually. I love the ecosystem in the game. I understand, you know, it's got some issues and balances at the moment that do need to be tweaked again, the materials, all that sort of stuff. Initially, it was the tuners. They seem to have fixed that, but it's kind of gone skewed to the one way now. And I know the RNG factor wouldn't be so bad, though, if we got more mats and we were able to level them up a lot easier. But the ecosystem is a really cool system in the game. It's a really cool way to have gear in an action RPG, in my opinion, to have basically Pokemon as your gear. It's pretty dope.
many players will come to across their playthrough is that you get a lot more for farming TDs compared to other mobs.
True.
Every single one slain has the potential to be an upgrade for your account. You get the feeling that you're progressing your account in multiple ways. Farming
Oh, yeah, you've got your mats, your weapon mats, and other mats as well, and potential like little drops, and then you've got the freaking potential to get a god tier echo as well, which is always nice to get. And I still have yet to get one of those god tiers with the crit damage of like 20 or whatever it is. I think the most I've got is like 12% crit damage is the highest I've got so far. I get so jealous when I see people putting up posts like, oh, I got a 19% crit damage. It's like, bruh, what the hell?
character upgrade materials while at the same time farming their equipment. In the process of farming this equipment, players increase their databank level and gain fantastic rewards across currency, upgrade materials, and their union level experience. The unfortunate result of this fantastic gameplay loop is that every other mob that doesn't provide these benefits becomes far less appealing. The fact of the matter is that time, along with wave plates, is a time-gated resource. Players don't have an unlimited amount of time to play games. When given multiple options on how to spend their time, they'll regularly default to the choice that gives them the best return on their investment. Time is something you cannot get back. The question every player asks themselves is, why would I farm human enemies when I can spend that time farming tacit discords instead? You get more
I must admit, I do that myself as well, though. You know, there's many times you'll avoid a fight with exiles. You'll just kind of like coast past them, where usually I will just fight echoes. There's plenty of echoes that I don't necessarily avoid, but I'll be doing something else. So, you know, I'll just kind of pass by. Or if I'm in the area and there's some echoes, I'm like, well, I might as well go fight them because I'm going to get some mats and I've got a potential of getting a cool echo as well, so I might as well go for it.
Back for your time when you avoid these enemies. When we factor in how gacha games are designed around shorter playing sessions, there's no surprise at all how players are running so short on some of these.
I wonder when are we going to get, and I know that it depends how you play them. You know, you can put time into them. Obviously, if you spend money, you can put more time into them. I wonder when we're going to start to see that change a little bit, where gacha games do try to create systems that incentivize people to play them a lot as well. And I know people do, but you know, the actual systems are designed to keep you playing. And of course, encourage, it's finding that balance of encouraging people to want to spend and be able to get some reward from playing the game in some form, whatever it might be. Because if you go too heavy and giving people too much for the time, they're less likely to spend money. So I wonder which game is really going to get that balance. I definitely think, in my opinion, Wu was leaned into that a little bit more. But will it be Project Mugen? Will it be Neverness to Everness? Will it be Azure Promelia? I'll be curious to see what happens in the future, because I do think we're getting to a point now where gacha games are really starting to evolve into something a little bit just beyond gacha games. You know, we've had the traditional gacha games for a while that have just been pure gamba games with a bit of a game around them. Now we're getting more games with a gamba system around them. And it'll be interesting to see how we lean more and more into the game side of things, and the gamba system still being a major factor to the game, but being more of a sideshow, but a sideshow that's encouraged and definitely has FOMO as well. I think I've been thinking about that recently. Like, I wonder which game is going to be that game that maybe breaks out into the full-on main. I know Genshin kind of did, but you know, becomes a game that's kind of respected by gamers as well, because a lot of people just don't respect gacha games, do they? And I get it. I do get it, but yeah, I've thought about that recently.
Upgrade materials. Unfortunately, these upgrade materials are quite literally the only incentive that players have to grind mobs other than tacit discords, and this drives a more negative feedback loop across your farming. The difference between farming tacit discords and farming exiles is similar to the difference between a want and a need. When you're farming exile enemies, you're doing it entirely out of necessity. These exiles are an obstacle you have to deal with in the path of maxing out a character's level, skills, and weapon.
True.
There's no luck or RNG besides the drop quantity from mobs when it comes to maxing out a character's abilities. All it feels like to the player is that this is a chore, and a huge sink of time that many players had been previously spending doing far more productive things.
I guess, I don't know, I just don't get that vibe feeling myself, personally. Again, the thing for me that feels a bit more like a chore is getting echo materials, because obviously it's behind your wave plates to be able to get them. So it just always feels like you can never get enough. You level a few echoes, you fail some rolls, you're out of mats, it's like, right, I've got to go again kind of thing, especially as you continue to expand your roster and build more of your characters. When you're concentrating on just a couple, it doesn't feel too bad. And it didn't feel too bad for me for quite a while, because I kind of was really passive on leveling up my echoes for a while, because obviously there was a talk about the updates with 1.1 and the whole change to the system, and maybe potentially the RNG changing a little bit and us getting a lot more tuners and potentially materials. So for a while, it didn't affect me so much. I kind of had a nerfed account until I decided to start really rolling my echoes. But I am at a point now where I've burnt through 90% of all my echo mats, and it's just, that's where it feels a bit of a chore in the game now, because it's not so much grinding to get them, it's the inability to grind to get them, and the lack of getting more as you level your account up, which you're going to need more anyway, especially when you're at a point where you're building multiple characters. That's the most frustrating part of the grind for me.
On the map with far better rewards. When players grind echoes in the overworld, this farming is primarily fueled by a want, more than a need. You can max out a character's upgrades, but it's virtually impossible to max out a character's echoes. It's incredibly easy to get a fully leveled plus 25 set, but getting great substats is where that motivation comes from.
It's the lottery, baby!
Inability to achieve perfection is what creates a want in players. Players want to build up a big inventory of rollable echoes. Players want on-set attribute damage 3 costs. Players want to get lucky and roll double crit on every piece. It's a gacha game, after all.
I must admit, I've got quite lucky with that. The double crits. Where I tend to get crap is the main stat in terms of if I do get like a crit damage or a crit rate, it just not being the best main stat in terms of the actual percentage. I haven't really got lucky. I see so many people posting those numbers, and I'm just like, you jammy git, dude. I can never get that. But then again, I've been quite lucky with a lot of my substats. Must admit though, I am sick and tired of seeing freaking defense when I'm trying to do rolls. But you know, that's another thing.
This motivation on an unending gear treadmill is what drives players to farm for echoes, and players have a much more positive experience when they're spending time on something that they want to do instead of something that
it is a major part of the gameplay loop of this game, isn't it?
That they feel like they need to do. Going from a great experience fueled by player motivation to a mediocre experience fueled by player necessity isn't the best. When you're farming overworld mobs, you're using the same rotations and tactics for every single one. While some Tacet Discords are immune to specific attributes, and some human mobs have incredibly annoying spawns, the overall combat experience isn't that differentiated. You're simply getting less for farming some mobs
reward,
compared to others. And this is actively making the upgrade process for many characters far less engaging for the player.
Again, though, I do still think that the bottleneck in upgrading your characters and your account on this game is still on the echoes. I think most people don't struggle to level up their characters, level up their weapons. It's getting those good echoes and the fact that the RNG added as well and the low map supply, shall we say, just leads to everybody, like, you're never going to get the perfect rolls. You're never going to get the perfect... there might be some people, but you're not going to get the perfect echo set of you've got perfect stats and substats across the board, no matter how much you farm, but trying to get as close as possible. Yeah, man, it's a pain in the ass.
Players can oftentimes feel like they're being forced to do things that they don't want to do to be able to do things that they do want to do. There are plenty of mechanics like these already across the game's systems, with elements like boss materials and forgery challenges. Kuro has already made farming the overworld great with the implementation of echoes. Why not extend that greatness to other overworld mobs? The difference in farming experiences across these mobs is clear. What can Kuro do about it? The answer to that question is frustratingly simple, because the problem has already been solved. Kuro
more mats, I guess,
gave fantastic reasons for players to engage with the overworld within the game's design through echoes. All there needs to be is creative implementation across the rest of the game's mobs. It's not an exaggeration to say that Kuro has been absolutely flooding us with morphable echoes. With these randomized echo drops available across content like the Elusive Realm, Kuro has already implemented ways to farm echoes other than Tacet Discords. They've even gone ahead and refreshed these rewards across version 1.1 as well to further motivate players to try out these new methods.
All good quality of life updates as well. These are all great little additions to the game, in my opinion. I don't think anybody's going to disagree with that anyway. It's not a hot take, you know?
Reinforcement, specifically in gacha games, works a lot better in driving player engagement compared to negative. So why not add similar incentives to farming human enemies in the overworld? Adding morphable echoes to the drop table for human enemies would be a fantastic way to spice.
Interesting. I'm not saying it wouldn't be a bad thing. I think there could be maybe, I don't know, I suppose I haven't got to look at everything as, well, they're not echoes, so why would they drop echoes? Because that's kind of just dumb, really, you know, that's like a, well, that's not canon, but I don't know, pardon me, just drinking Coke, my apologies. I don't know, I just feel like maybe just some extra mats, or instead of giving us morphable echoes, maybe they drop, maybe it's a little bit rarer, but that drop echo experience as well. That'd be nice, you know? I think I'd prefer that because I don't necessarily need more echoes at the moment, but I need more mats to level up the echoes that I've got. Because you're always going to need more echoes in the end because you're going to get through enough where you're like, right, they're all dead. I've used them for other characters. I really need this specific stat, this sub-stat. I need these requirements. But I just feel, for me, it's not so much that I'm short on echoes, it's that I'm short on the ability to level echoes. So I think just getting experience drops from Exiles would be a lot better, in my opinion.
Up the farming experience and actually incentivize players.
That would really incentivize you to go after them then. You know, because you've got your echoes, your tacits to get echoes, and then you've got the exiles for the chance to get materials to level the echoes, and they're kind of like almost symbiotic in a way then.
It would help add a silver lining to the comparably disappointing farming experience many players are having as they build up characters like Chang Li. Exile and Fraxidus members are resonators too, and I'm sure most players would be fine stealing their echoes like Team Rocket steals Pokemon. Overall,
actually,
the resource grind...
I suppose canonically there, that kind of works actually, doesn't it? Yeah. Even though that doesn't matter, but yeah, I like that.
And in Wuthering Waves has
still
issues
would rather
with
get
progression that are inherently tied to the gacha genre. Time is a big piece of what prevents your progress. However, Kuro struck gold when it came to its implementation of echoes across the overworld. And once you've experienced something great, downgrading to a similar experience that is, in a lot of ways, strictly worse can feel awful. Hopefully, this overview was helpful in highlighting where the grind in Wuthering Waves goes well and where it goes wrong. As always, if you enjoyed this content, please hit that like and subscribe button.
This is another great video from Saint Tontas. Apologies again. But yeah, another great video. Kind of thought-provoking as well, for the game anyway. I agree with that, actually. It definitely would be nice to get a little bit of something extra spicy from the Exiles, because just getting what you get from them isn't really that great. I don't find them frustrating, or they don't feel more of a grind for me personally, or it probably is a little bit less engaging. But I think, again, rather than getting echoes dropping from them, give us more materials to level the echoes, because that's where I feel like the real bottleneck is in this game. Obviously, there's other issues, but you can get access to plenty of echoes. You're getting all the morphable echoes, the overworld echoes. If you can you can go into co-op as well and farm more echoes with friends. But the materials is where we're really... I think most people are probably low on echo materials, if you've at least been building multiple characters anyway. I would imagine so. Or even maybe just trying to get that perfect set on one character. You've probably burnt through majority of your mats. You've probably got plenty of tuners, because since the update, tuners are easy to come by now, especially with the synthesis and the fact that we get more. So I think I haven't gone below 1,000 tuners now for a while, and it's not that, and I must admit, at the moment, I'm not necessarily on the grind to get the best echoes I possibly can. I will be soon, but the reason I've kind of not been doing that, I've been more concentrating on my forte circuits and stuff on characters, and like really maxing that sort of stuff out now, and weapons and such, is because I'm at the point where I'm really just trying to build up echo experience materials at the moment, and I just feel like if we could get that from Exiles, that would be another great way to get it. And I understand that they're kind of locking that a little bit behind the wave plate system because it makes all the tacit fields worth it, and there needs to be that balance, because then they won't be worth it. Maybe just up the rate of, or the amount of materials you get from those, because I think it should anyway for the cost it costs, and just have some in the overworld. Not every Exile has to drop materials, but maybe sometimes you can get lucky and get a decent number. You know, you can get like 3 or 4 potentially off maybe one of the harder ones, or a big group. I think that would really kind of balance that out then, and it would make farming Exiles worth it in the game and rewarding as well. But yeah, that was a great video, that was. I do agree. I don't find them frustrating, but I do agree with the sentiment behind it and the reality of the return on investment of your time, shall we say. But once again, though, I just want to say, I think Wuthering Waves really smashed it with the echo system. I love the echo system in this game. It's the coolest way to have gear in any gacha game, in my opinion. And I really do like it. But yeah, great video. Definitely check him out. Show some love. Makes awesome videos, actually. So yeah, the worst mobs in Wuthering Waves.